When it announced its pro-gay marriage rulings, the Supreme Court also attacked the motives of those who came up with the Defense of Marriage Act, DOMA. It enshrined traditional marriage in federal law. But writing for the majority, Justice Anthony Kennedy said the avowed purpose and practical effect of the law here in question are to impose a disadvantage, a separate status, and so a stigma upon all who enter into same-sex marriages. And he wrote, DOMA writes inequality into the entire United States Code.
The court said that the Federal Defense of Marriage Act is literally irrational.
The law was motivated by animus. Animus means hatred and discrimination.
That it was just the fruit of bigotry and benighted souls.
There's absolutely a growing threat under this administration and under this court.
Tony Perkins of the Family Research Council says the hostility against supporters of traditional marriage will get worse.
And I think you will see open hostility, increasing open hostility. I mean, we've seen just over the weekend at gay pride events where there were Christians there were beaten because they took a stand for biblical morality.
Thomas Peters at the National Organization for Marriage says up till now, action against traditional marriage backers has mostly come at the state level, and cases have been piling up in recent years.
The Colorado baker who right now could spend a year in jail for refusing to give a wedding cake to a gay ceremony, or the town clerks in New York that had to resign their jobs because they simply asked that someone else in the office would sign the same-sex marriage licenses and they wouldn't have to do it. Or the wedding photographer in New Mexico who's been fined thousands of dollars simply for saying that they didn't want to photograph a gay ceremony.
In Canada, which has had same-sex marriages nationwide since 2005, in the last few years, 200 to 300 cases against opponents of gay marriage were brought before courts, human rights commissions, and employment boards. Now Perkins expects a steep rise in cases across the U.S., and he says that's going to have a major impact on America.
This is about fundamentally altering the American society. Loss of religious freedom, loss of parental rights, employers, bakers, photographers, florists being forced to participate by threat of law in same-sex marriages.
This Washington State florist in March refused to supply the flowers for a gay wedding because of her Christian beliefs.
She said, I will happily serve you as an individual, but I don't believe in gay weddings, and so I'm not going to do the weddings for your ceremony. The Attorney General and the ACLU colluded to sue her with criminal and civil penalties. This is just a gross overreach of power.
And these days, the most active of gay rights activists demand affirmation from everyone, and they suggest it's anti-gay to do anything less than show full support for them.
At this moment, apathy and passivity are no better than bigotry.
For instance, an email went to Department of Justice managers this spring saying they should display a gay pride symbol in their office, and it instructed when it comes to gays, quote, don't judge or remain silent. Silence will be interpreted as disapproval. So one big worry in this atmosphere is what happens to federal workers who believe homosexuality is unbiblical. Some military members have already run into trouble. Retired chaplain Ron Cruz tells of two Christians having Bible study in their post-exchange, reading Romans 1, a chapter that blasts homosexual behavior.
2 tables over, a soldier heard them, came up to them and started cursing at them for talking about him, and then called an MP over, wanted to reprimand them for talking about him, when all they were doing was reading scripture.
Cruz talked to an Air Force officer who'd had a Bible on his desk for 23 years, but not now.
His superior officer told him, you cannot put your Bible on the desk because it may offend someone.
Former Delta Force Commander Jerry Boykin warned the military depends on patriotic people of faith to fill its ranks.
When young men and women across America are told that they must leave their faith at the door, then they're not going to come in our military, and our military readiness will decline as a result of it.
Even your civilian pastor could face trouble in the future if he serves as a civil minister marrying couples, and he won't do gay weddings.
The same way that tax status could be threatened, ministerial exemptions could be threatened as well, if we continue to embed this false idea in the law that standing for marriage equates with bigotry.
This may be the biggest threat to religious liberty in all of America's history, when the rights of the country's largest group, its religious believers, are threatened so that a small sexual minority can have its lifestyle affirmed by all members of society, whether they want to affirm it or not. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from Capitol Hill.